is Dr. Robin Rayfield. When I served as president of ORTA, of Ohio Retired Teachers Association, I did some things really well and I did some things not so well. One of the things I did best was hire this man. He's served this organization greatly and has helped chapters like us all around the state move forward. Our latest challenge has been about the COLA, about trying to get our COLA back. And so his focus today is going to be on that. Robin, before he joined us, was superintendent of a small district up in northwest Ohio. Going home after we get done here today. So he said his talk is relatively short and straight to the point, but he wants to leave plenty of time for everybody to contribute and have questions. So with that,
great.
Robin, you're on.
Randy. And I do this often, especially when one of the executive committee members or former executive committee members are present. I didn't know anything about ORTA. Saw this, got this email, hey, you might be interested in this. You should check it out. And I've been retired and I had worked a year down at OU as an adjunct faculty from Northwest Ohio there. It's 4 hours. I don't care unless you got a helicopter, it's 4 hours. Go this side of Columbus, this side of Columbus, it didn't matter. So, and that wore me out. And I spent a lot of time at the local watering hole. And my wife, who is a devout Baptist person, said, you either got to get a job or something, because you're not going to go up and meet the 2 o'clock guys and hang around, have a beer with them, and then meet the 3 o'clock guys, and then meet the 4 o'clock guys, and pretty soon it's 6:15, and I come home for dinner at 7 o'clock. She said, no. So go find a job. Got the email, and I talked with Randy and the entire executive committee, and I was fortunate enough to get hired. It really is something I enjoy doing. I was done with K-12 when I retired. But I've had opportunities to go back. Will you be an interim superintendent? Nope. Well, it pays it. Nope. I'm not interested in signing one more purchase order. I don't want to negotiate any more contracts. I am done. So I'm happy. And this thing with ORTA, it's a great deal. I told him, Randy, put up this beautiful contract. I signed it. I said, but here's the thing. Tell me the day you don't want me to come back, and I won't come, or quit paying me and I'll quit working. And if I quit working, I assume you'll quit paying me. So we got a great agreement. I love going there. We have great people. Alyssa, Mia are great to work with. We have a great executive committee. And I get to go to places like this rather than be in the office. So I'd far rather be here than be in the office. ORTA is alive and well. Actually, COVID, I know it hurt local chapters, but this is a big meeting. I will tell you, like ORTA standards, this is a great meeting. We need some leaders in ORTA. If any of you are willing to serve, we have liaison positions. What does a liaison do? If you think about a district director, that's kind of what it is. You go around, you meet with 5 chapters one time a year. So you stop in and have lunch, get to meet the people in, I don't know, Clinton County or Preble County or Stark County, one of those. And I send out some briefs. You get a paper and you say, well, this is what Rayfield says about ORTA. It really is not an overwhelming job. But if they have a connection, because literally I can't be in more than one place at one given time. You stop in on those meetings, they might have a question. You say, hey, that's a good point. Let me get with ORTA and I'll find out. They call me up and we'll help you come up with a solution to help that local chapter. Many of those liaison positions are kind of like local chapter positions. You get elected, you made the mistake. You made eye contact with someone that you should not have made eye contact with. But I say, we're looking for a secretary, and I see your eyes. Okay, yeah, I'll take that as a yes. And you get hired. And then the next time they say, we're looking for somebody to be the treasurer, every head goes down. And I'm saying, well, really, it doesn't take that much time and energy. Every head goes down until, once again, it's like the Baptist minister when he says every head's bowed and every eyes are closed. We want to talk about the invitation, and every head's bowed. They sneak a peek around to see who's raising their hands. At any rate, I gave you this little handout. And this kind of outlines the history of the whole forensic audit. ORTA is a non-political organization. However, we have become slightly political about issues, but not about candidates. We need to become more political about candidates that are directly impacting us. STRS board member elections. But I understand if this guy says, well, we can't use current. Let's go back a few years, because really our current politicians are all clowns. But let's say, go back 5 elections and they say, Nixon was running for president against Kennedy. It's way back when. All right. I wouldn't have ever said ORTA needs to take a stance on that. But nowadays, they run people out that are so objectionable that it's hard to, you could say no to anybody. But I do think we need to get engaged in things that are important to us. So why, I'll tell you, it was controversial. Whether or not we're going to try to raise $75,000, are you kidding me? 75 grand? How are we ever going to do that? I don't know. These people on the Facebook said they think we can raise it. So we did, and holy cow, it took less than 3 months and we had the money.
We actually just received another donation last week.
They trickle in, $25. Oh, I want to help with that.
ORTA served just as the
fiscal agent, just collecting. And that money was absolutely separate from ORTA operations. The extra is still there. It's in our money market. But the reason we did it, kind of outlined there, we're not getting what we were promised. Active teachers are paying 40% more and working 25% longer. Every one of us lost 30% of our retirement if you live to be what STRS projects you to live. 30% of what you should have got was taken away. That's not a COLA. That's a guaranteed benefit that was offered to you the day you quit and got your paperwork signed. What would you have done as a teacher if the superintendent said, you know what? We hired you at, some of you who had a contract less than 10,000. I did. I started in 79. Coached 2 sports, made less than 10,000. What if they just said, but I could look at the chart and I'd say, wow, if I stay here 25 years, I'll be making $40,000 a year. Can you imagine? 40,000. If they just said, well, you know what? After all, we're going to just pay you 10 for the rest of your life. Well, that's what they did with our retirement. We had a contract. We had an agreement. And then they said, well, we're not going to honor that agreement. Then they went to the people who are paying our way, the current actives, charged them 40% more and said, my wife, no, after all, Steph, you can't quit it 30 years. You got to go 33. Now, she was going to probably go that long anyways, but when you have to do it, it's different than when you choose to do it. But people I feel the worst for were the ones who said, well, if I retire now, I'll avoid that 5-year COLA freeze they're announcing. So I'll retire now and I'll get my 2% a year every year. And I'll be ahead of if I would just work straight through and quit. And many of them rushed to the door, got their paperwork signed by June 1st. July 1st, they cut the COLA for everybody for 5 years. So after being told one thing and assured one thing, they turned around and changed their mind. So, and there were 3,700 people who left that year. But we decided, all right, enough is enough. Let's get this guy. Raise the money really was kind of an enjoyable thing, getting all the little notes, get a little card with a $5 check in it. I've been retired. I looked that person up. They've been retired for 30 years, 27 years. You know what their monthly income is, $1,800 a month. And they sent us $5 or $10. At any rate, raise the money, talk to Ted. Yep, we're good. He started his work February, got it rolling, gave us the report in June. It's 128 pages. It's on our website. We'll send you an email copy if you want one. But you can Google it and it'll come up and you can click on it. I'll tell you, save you the time. Don't read the 128 pages. Don't even read the executive summary because it's 28 pages long. This is everything. STRS is not transparent. They tell you they are. They brag about being transparent, but they are not transparent. We asked a simple public records request. We asked a very complex one too. We asked, okay, in alternative investments, you have 135 of them. You list them in your year-end report. Apollo Group, Panda Power, I don't know, you name a hedge fund and we probably are investing in it. So we have 135 of them, private equities, etc. Oh, great. How much do we put in this one? Well, can't tell you. What do you mean you can't tell? You don't know, or you physically can't, or you choose not to tell them? That's not public information. Really? So we have $17 billion invested in these things, and it's my money. None of your money goes in there. All of my money goes in there, and I can't know which ones we've invested in and how much we've invested. That's correct. So, well, what were the fees associated with that? We're not going to tell you that either. So I can't know how much is in each of those 135, and I can't know what fees you pay. You could be paying 20% fees. We're not paying 20%. Well, how much are you paying? It's not 20%. Well, then tell me how much it is. No, can't tell you. Okay. How much is that asset worth today? Can't tell you that either. So we have $17 billion in a black hole. Mr. Seidel found that in their reporting, in their own reports by their auditors, external auditors, that we don't know what the fees are. Or we know what the fees are and we're ashamed of them and we won't publish them. So there's lack of transparency because I don't know. If I don't know it and I don't tell you, it's not a dishonest transparency issue. It's an ignorance transparency issue. But if I know it and I know you won't like it and I don't tell you because of that, then that is a dishonesty transparency issue. Clearly, we have the latter and not the former. So lack of transparency. We're sharing this with all of the legislators. I've met with 6 so far, and every one of them says, well, that's preposterous. You're a public pensioner. That information must be given to you. We agree. We've won 1 in the Supreme Court. We had to file in the Supreme Court. We're successful. They gave over a handful of records. The mother lode, though, they're going to hold it until they're compelled by the Supreme Court to give those up, because they know they've been caught lying.
Well, I mean, what's their argument of like why they can hold this? What's
They
the
say
legal
it's proprietary.
argument? But what does that mean?
That means I invested in your hedge fund. That's a deal between you and I. No one else can know what our conditions of that deal is. No one can know how much I gave you. No one can know how much you're charging me to do that investment deal. And no one can know the value of that. There's Ohio law that says all of that is public record. However, I sign an agreement with you and I say, okay, Randy, I will not share this information. We say Ohio law trumps an agreement that you and I have.
And just to be clear, if almost everybody in here is investing something on their own, all that information is available from not public money, just the money that, because like I just got a report that said, here's what we're investing in, this is what the fee was, right?
Right.
So we're not asking for anything that wouldn't normally be provided anyway.
Right. No, we're not asking them to create a record at all. Just tell us what you invested and what the fees are, because we found out they lied about the fees. That's the big smoking gun issue. Yes.
It seems like the Securities Exchange Commission would be interested
They
in
are.
the lack of transparency because
They
the
are.
SEC likes transparency.
Yeah.
My sister's a stockbroker, so
Yeah.
I've talked about this with her. And that's what she
Ted Seidel won the largest award ever as a SEC whistleblower. As part of his investigation, his forensic audit, he filed a whistleblower complaint. SEC is investigating it, as is the FBI. Because if you've been following what's happening in Pennsylvania, where unfortunately politicians are getting greased, and that's the biggest, Ohio is the biggest, most corrupt state there is. We put New Jersey to shame when it comes to pay to play. I mean, the mobsters are working downtown in Columbus because they're getting money from the hedge funds, from the Wall Street crooks, and that's why they're reluctant to bring the hammer down on them for not treating us appropriately. No doubt they're going to try to throw money our way. Hey, here's $1,500 per employee or per retiree. Just go away now. Don't bother us, which is not going to get it done. I care less about the COLA than I care about fixing the corruption that is systemic at STRS. We found they underreport their expenses. How did we find that? CEM, their own auditor, said in the report, STRS either doesn't know their fee structure or refuses to give it to us, their own auditor, what the fee structure is. But they report a fee structure that is clearly not accurate. So CEM then goes in and says, okay, well, I know your fee structure isn't this. We're going to use industry standard. And STRS says, okay, use industry standard. So using just the industry standard, they underreported their fee structure by $400 million per year over 5 years. You know, that's big money.
Why doesn't, I mean, I've been at the Of course, a couple of years ago, because I haven't been to any of those board meetings for a while. But I've been there when CEM reports their
Yeah.
audit. And when they report their audit, oh, everything's great.
Well, if you've never been to an STRS meeting, I encourage you to go. They'll get up and it's like you're watching Neil Cavuto on the Fox News channel about money. You know, derivatives are here and the foreign oil is here. And we think what do they call them? The underpinnings, the psychological underpinnings in the Asian market is going to drive this direction. So we're getting ahead of it. And I mean, it's really interesting. But if you miss one word, you're lost for the next 10 minutes. And it's very heady, complex. I still don't understand derivatives, and I've been going 4 years. But I do know that they will say, everything we're reporting is net of fees. I can understand that. So if we put $1 million into an account, and then we got $1.5 million, and all the fees have been paid, so we earn, hey, that's a huge gain. STRS says, yep, these are all net of fees. They're not. Again, dishonesty. They realized when I asked them specifically about that, well, that wasn't a fee, that was an expense. No, and I said, really? That's what you're going to tell me? It wasn't a fee, it was an expense. Well, they're two distinct different things. We report net of fees. So if you pay me an expense, that's not a fee. That's an expense. Then you pay me a fee. That is my fee. So if my fee is $1 and my expenses are $5 and I got $6, but I only report my $1, makes my profit look very good. Mr. Seidel found out that not only do they underreport their fees and expenses, they overreport or overstate their earnings. So it's kind of a double whammy. Naturally, if I underreport my fees, and then at the end of the day, that comes off of the total bottom line, well, then my profits or my earnings are going to be overstated. All we're asking for, give us the information. We can actually do math. We can add what we started with, what we have today, and we know the difference is how much we've done. Where the rest of it went in fees and expenses. They're projecting somewhere along the area of $4 billion with a B dollars goes to Wall Street every year out of our retirement. Now, our COLA is about $250 million a year. Now, keep in mind, $250 million this year, $250 million next year, it goes on and on. So one COLA costs a whole lot of money at the end of the day. Okay, one of the huge things that we have found that is very troubling is we pay, as you know, you've heard complaints about bonuses. STRS refers to them as performance incentives. Commonly used, we could say it's a bonus. Now, what's kind of quirky about this is people say, well, if they didn't pay bonuses, we could get our COLA. No. They pay between 7 and 10 million a year in bonus pay. 250 is what COLA costs, so it doesn't pay. Now, would we all like to have $1,500? Yeah, we'd all think $1,500 or $500 or whatever it is. But remember, there's 150,000 of us. If you do the math, you say, well, 10 million divided by 150,000 people, everybody gets, I don't know what that is. I don't have a calculator in front of me, but $1,000, something like that. But here's the part that is troubling. You're supposed to meet a benchmark in order to get a bonus. So if Randy said to me, hey, we're going to hire you to be Orta's guy, we're going to pay you a bonus. And you get a bonus if you add 1,000 new members. And I said, oh, okay.
We actually talked about that.
Yeah. And I said, well, we'll get 1,000 new members in. And I go to Randy and say, hey, Randy, I only got 100 new members. He said, well, sorry, you got to get 1,000 to get the bonus. Yeah, but I'm a good guy. I work hard. Come on, what do you say? Yeah, why not? Let's give you what, to the board, we're going to give him a bonus, even though we didn't reach the benchmark. He worked real hard, so they give me a bonus. And then next year, I get 100 people. The standard is 1,000, and they keep paying me a bonus. Pretty soon, I don't care how many members I get, because I'm going to get my bonus anyways. STRS finally admitted in last October, well, we use their performance as the benchmark. So whatever they perform, that is their benchmark to me. Oddly enough, that's been going on. The audit that was conducted in 2006 identified that as a major concern. You can't use performance as a benchmark. 2006, they knew this. They have been using they've been using performance as their benchmark since 2006. Still using it today. Now, good news, they're going to fix it, but it's going to take them 3 or 4 years to get it fixed because they have to average and smooth it in. So they'll still be getting bonuses. August 19th, they will vote on $10 million worth of bonuses for benchmarks that have not been met. Rudy Fichtenbaum, our new board member coming on in September, did an analysis. He's very good with numbers. And STRS has not met a benchmark in over 10 years. And yet they have received these bonuses all along. Now, I don't care if those guys make good money. They probably should make good money. But they should then just be transparent and honest and say, here's what you're going to make. We're going to pay you $700,000 a year. We don't care what you do. Nobody ever gets fired because I make my bonus. How do I make my bonus? By what I did. Doesn't matter if it was good or bad. I still get my bonus, so I must be doing well. The last part of this talks about the last time we had an audit. It was in 2006. ORSC owed us a Ohio Retirement Study Council. STRS knew about this. Everyone knew about it. But they knew that they hadn't addressed any of the issues that were identified in 2006. So it would be bad to have an audit 10 years later and find out that nothing was fixed. And yet here we are. We're well beyond that. And they finally put out the RFP to have an audit. So we're going to get an audit, 22, maybe 23. They haven't started it yet. I don't know how long. Probably takes a year. I don't know. So I probably should have warned you ahead of time. Eat some Tums right now, because what I'm going to tell you is going to give you heartburn. I've gotten to the point, and it took me 4 years to get here, that I just don't have any faith or trust in what the STRS people tell me. I think they're very good at customer service. They're very polite people. When you call down there, they'll get you an answer. But the leadership, the culture at STRS is broken, in my mind, beyond repair. So,
Where does the buck stop?
well, we
We
hope
have board members,
our board members, yours and mine, Bob Stein, Rita Walter, never vote against what the executive director tells us,
and the executive,
ever that I've ever seen.
and the executive director is who?
Now it's Bill Neville.
And he gets that position how?
He was hired by the board. The board is 2 retiree electees, 4 active teacher representatives. They're currently classroom teachers or, active in the STRS system, and 5 state appointees. The guy who's carrying all of our water right now, doing everything for us, is Wade Steen. Wade Steen is appointed by the governor, and he asks very difficult and embarrassing questions. How did they meet these standards? Well, they give them a little double talk and we'll try to say, he goes, no, stop. I am a CPA. That's what I do. So I'm telling you, what you folks did is not an audit. You can call it an audit, it's not an audit. An audit is the auditor signs off and is liable for that report. Ma'am, you're telling me you have no skin in this game. You are not liable for anything. And they say, well, we didn't conduct any kind of an audit. We simply took information STRS gives us and we report on it. So how do you know that anything that STRS gave you is accurate? We make a claim, disclaimer. We do not verify anything here. We basically say, if what you've given me is true, then this is what my report is. And he says, ma'am, trust me, I really am an auditor. I don't know if you are, but I am. What you're doing is not an audit. And he said, I need 90 more days so I can know whether to vote for this. Overwhelmingly, OEA loves the status quo. They do not want anything to upset $850 per person per year coming into their coffers. So they're just going to keep things status quo. Marv, do you have a question?
Robert Stein ran for
The board?
then he resigns after winning. Why, and what's the replacement process?
Well, I don't, personal reasons is what he said. I don't know. Maybe this kitchen's getting too hot. I don't know. Maybe he's got health reasons. I mean, he doesn't owe me an explanation. We're not close friends. We talked often, but
I realize this is the retirement associations, okay? But I would think those who are on the job right now would be just as important for them to see what is happening because it's their future.
yeah, if you're an active teacher and you only hear, I'll put it to you this way, if you only watched Fox News, that's the only channel your house got. Or you only got MSNBC News, and that's the only channel your house got. You would have a picture of the world in the current political setting that is very distorted from the real world. When you come in as a STRS board member, you get only STRS's perspective. There's no other perspective out there. They've got these wonderful auditors, investors, and they actually take you away for a few days and you go to what's called Callan College. One of their external consultants is called Callan Company. And you go to Callan College and you learn all about how pension systems work. But understand, you're learning it from their perspective. That's why when Rudy comes in, he's smarter than any of those guys. He's smarter than Callan's guys. I mean, he is a PhD published professor on economics and how these things operate. So they've got nothing on Rudy. And he comes in and he says, what you're saying is not even close to accurate. On our website, there's a document and it says how to fix the pension system without any more money. Rudy knows how. He's seen the presentation. I've seen the presentation. I couldn't tell you about it because it's very complex and you need to be at his level to understand what's called arbitraging and lending money to Goldman Sachs and getting paid back. And you give them a security, they give you cash, but you're making money on every transaction. There's been a presentation to some of our board members. If it's true, we would get our COLA. Active teachers would get a massive reduction in their contribution rate, and the system would be fully funded. Now, who's against that? Who would be against that? That if, I'm just saying, let's assume that it is true. There is a solution. The solution is no new influx of cash, no new taxes on anybody. We all get our COLA as promised. Active teachers get their reduced rate or reduced years of service or whatever it is that they negotiate for. If that existed, would we be interested in it? I certainly would.
Yes.
Yeah. Who is not interested in it? STRS employees who get paid $600,000 and $700,000 to do a poor job investing our money. If someone else could come in and do what they do for zero or very low and fix everything, and 105 of them get their walking papers, we would be happier. Of course, all 105 of them would be very unhappy because they would lose a massive paying job.
I'm starting my third decade of retirement. I retired in 2000. That's when the 13th check was here. Teachers put in 8. Board of Education put in 16, I believe. That's 24%. Mm-hmm. Since then, the Board of Education has come way down. What about
14.
Yeah, what
28.
Why don't you raise the Board of Education contribution?
We've asked that. There's a political sensitivity to that because, and I met with Kurt Shearing in his office, and he said, "Well, Mr. Superintendent, what are you going to do if I increase your obligation by 4%?" And I said, "Well, that would bankrupt me. But if you told me it was going to go up 0.5% a year for 8 years, I could budget for it. I can make it work." One thing that is critical here, again, Rudy did the math, said if STRS had no investment department, if we just had 2 or 3 people and they say, we're going to put this much money in, what do they call them? Fixed, safe income, bonds, okay? You're going to put 30% in bonds, 65% in the equities market and 5% cash because we have to keep cash to pay payroll and everything. He said if we had just done that in a passive index, like Warren Buffett says you should do, and we didn't try to beat the market like we never have ever beaten the market, but we try every year. we'd be 20 billion ahead of where we're at right now. So all of this farting around with going down derivatives and buying equities and buy Boeing, buy Apple, sell Apple, buy this, sell it, and all this active management has cost us $20 billion over the last 2 decades.
Not a lot of common sense.
No, hey, one of the richest guys in the world, Warren Buffett, says, don't do what you're doing. You can't beat the market. No one can. That's why I buy an index and I just stay with it. And the whole discount, I'll stop with this. Notice they lowered the discount rate. You know what the discount rate is? That's the assumed rate of return. When I started at Orta, it was at 8, meaning they thought they were going to make 8% a year on average for the next till infinity. Then they lowered it to 7.45. That added billions and billions to our unfunded liability. Last month, they lowered it to 7.0, adding billions and billions. We would be like 98% funded if they hadn't lowered the discount rate. We didn't do anything with our investments, did nothing different. We lowered the expected rate of return, added 10 billion to our unfunded liability. Took us from 97% funded or 98% funded to 86 something funded. So right now, as we sit here today, we're 86 and 86.3% funded, meaning they have 83 cents for every dollar they owe through infinity. We're allowed to have a mortgage. That mortgage is 30 years. Currently, our mortgage is about 14 years.
And that's one of the reasons that's important is because the board members have said, if we get to 100%, then we'll think about putting COLA back on.
No, and they said 100% funded, there'll be no COLAs until we're 100% funded. They looked at it and said, oh my God, we could end up 100% funded. We'd have to pay COLA. But lower the discount rate. Where they messed up is they also said if we get to 85% funded, they have to consider paying COLA again. Because Orta and other people bitched and moaned and raised Cain with them. And they finally said, you know, I think 85 is a more reasonable goal. That was a big move on the part of the STRS board. They dropped it to 85, knowing fully well we'll never get to 80. We've only been 85% funded 4 times in the history of 100 years. So, I mean, the chances of us ever getting back to 85%, they knew were 0. Especially when you got to pay Wall Street $4 billion a year. If we had that $4 billion, we'd be fine. But I can't pay my buddies at Wall Street and then get a return kickback to all the legislators. Why isn't every newspaper in Ohio all over this? Gwinnett, they own 20 of the biggest 28 papers in Ohio. Gwinnett is owned by Apollo hedge fund. STRS, massive investments in Apollo. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. Did anyone here know about Panda before we blew the whistle on them? Panda Power. We put $525 million into Panda Power in 2014. They lost it. It's kind of like that. If you ever watch South Park, I watch South Park all the time. So, we'll put this money to work for you. Oh, and we lost it. And that's essentially what they did. We put in money. Ooh, there's a problem. Back it up with more money. Back it up with more money. $525 million gone. STRS, don't worry about it. It's insignificant. $500 million is never insignificant.
Well, I related to STRS, and they say that we are ranked one of the best run.
Who ranks them?
In the country. And then they show rate of return and so forth. Now, and so my question is, I mean, this is damning.
Yes.
So.
How do you believe it? Yeah.
I mean, what does it come?
Next steps.
Other than
What we plan to do is force the Attorney General to investigate. That's what we plan to do. Now, understand the Attorney General is their lawyer. That's just the way the state is set up.
The Attorney General is STRS's lawyer?
He is the attorney, he is the governor's attorney, so any state agency.
That's right. I have a couple of friends that are not board members, they're STRS retirees, NEA members. Everything is fine. I'm going to share this Zoom with them. And I'm going to say, listen to the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. Listen to the rest of the story, not just what STRS tells you.
STRS rates themselves as one of the best ever. They rate themselves and they use their paid consultant. So Randy's my paid consultant. I pay Randy to evaluate my performance as the ORTA executive director. And Randy said, one of the best ones I've ever met. You know, he's really doing an outstanding job. I can point to a lot of things. Then they start digging around. They find out, you know what? He's got all these sexual harassment complaints. The money isn't right in the checking account. Where everything's wrong. I see his mileage. There's no way a guy could drive that many miles in 1 year. And then they started asking me that, and I said, Randy, will you take care of this for me? He said, one of the best executive directors ever. The more I pay you, the better my report gets. That's why Ted Seidel was so important. He owes STRS nothing. He owes us nothing because we only paid him $75,000. Now, when you consider they make hundreds of thousands of dollars working for STRS, but we don't have time. But our investment in real estate is so bad. STRS's, we paid more. The highest price set the world record for Texas. So the state record in Texas. Think about all the oil money in Texas. We paid more per square foot than's ever been paid in the history of the state of Texas for an office building. We all own it. I suppose we could go look at it someday. It's in Dallas. Why? Why would we pay more than it's ever been paid? Look at what's going on at Hudson Yards. They can't rent it. Why? It's too expensive. Everybody's leaving New York. STRS was Johnny on the spot and bought in at the Hudson Yard. At least we bought at the top. We bought when prices were too high. They asked them, straightforward question, how much is that building we own on the corner of Madison? It's got a special name. It's in Times Square. We own a building, us collectively, STRS. And he said, well, you know, it's valued at, you know, over $1 billion. Yeah, it's a big building, nice building. Yeah, real beautiful. Got a gym and healthcare and all that stuff in it. It's wonderful. Yeah, well, what's it worth today? Well, you know, it's hard to put a value on buildings right now because of COVID and, you know, New York real estate isn't good. Yeah, I get it. This is Mr. Steen asking the question. What do you have it on the books for today? Well, 10 minutes later, he says, I'm looking for a number. Tell us what the building is worth today. Well, I'll make it simple for you. If we wanted to sell it today, what would we sell it for? It's not for sale. Now, this is a board member asking one of his employees for information on the biggest real estate thing we have. And he will not, because he knows it's not worth how much they paid for it. And he's in line to get a great big bonus because everybody gets the bonus. The real estate people get it too. So we make a bad real estate deal, they still get their bonus. We have offices all over the country. We don't need them. We don't even need to be in real estate.
If the Attorney General has wasted all these years not doing anything with STRS, got a headache here, thanks to you, because it's a bleak picture.
It is.
What ray of hope do we have that something's going to be done, and what will we do?
We are hoping that Governor DeWine will intervene. Now, unfortunately, he was the Attorney General when the last stuff hit the fan. So, and they say he's going to do his job. If he has the report, he was emailed the report.
I would say one thing that's very encouraging, hard for me to say that, but the fact that he appointed Ray Steve.
Yes.
And he hasn't put other.
That's his dog in this fight, and he's barking like crazy. And when we hired Ted Seidel, don't do that. Rob, you're wasting money. Don't do that. Yeah, seriously.
Who was saying that?
Board members.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And STRS leaders. You're going to set false hope for people. First of all, we don't trust what you're telling us. We're going to get a second opinion. If it comes back, everything's great, I'm going to say I apologize for being such an a-hole, and I'm going to be far more respectful of folks. We didn't get that kind of a report. We didn't get, it all goes back to transparency. If everyone knew that they were sending the amount of money they're sending to Wall Street, no one would accept that. I don't care who you are, you look at it and say, no way we can do that with a pension fund. Just put it into an index. I think we would all say, if the market gave more than the assumed rate of return, yeah, okay, we get our COLA, or we get a sliding scale COLA based on inflation or whatever. I'm not one of these people. I was a school superintendent. Our teachers deserved raises. I didn't have any money. They deserved a raise. My wife was one of them. She deserved a raise. But if I don't have money, I can't pay it. So when we had money, I gave them a raise. And I certainly gave them a raise before I gave my administrators a raise. And I took the last raise, the very last raise, after everybody, bus drivers, everybody had it. That's what I would expect out of STRS leadership. Let's get the retirees something. Let's reduce the burden on the actives. Okay, everybody's got a little something. Now we'll give the employees something. You start with the custodian first.
Robin, one thing that as I've
I'm
thought about.
overtime, so if you gotta go, go.
That's okay, we can tell them to go or stay.
Yeah.
One thing that puzzles me about this is, if in fact we can get this information to the board members, this is so complicated. Let's just make it simple. If the one piece of information that we could get to that says, if you replace your system with an index system similar to what Warren Buffett suggests, okay, this is the net savings, however you want to put that. I don't see how the OEA board members would block that or oppose that. They don't have I can't see that the board members have a dog in hiring these 103 people.
They would have to admit they're wrong. I've been a STRS board trustee for 2 terms. I'd have to admit that I was wrong. And and that everything I've known, everything I believe, everything I know about pension systems
Everything I was told.
is twisted. Right, but then that becomes my knowledge. And if I were to tell you something about school leadership that you know what you're doing, and I come in and say, Randy, everything you did is wrong, you'd look at me like I had two heads and say, you just don't get it. And that's where they're at. They're put into that.
How do you put the heat on the board?
Well, we are.
I know you are.
We think if I count right, we might have 6. Yes, you can reach out to your board members. You can reach out to your local elected official. Maybe not yours, but
Before they
you can
leave,
reach out to elected officials. Yes.
before they leave, tell them about the 19th, what's going on tonight.
On the 19th, there is a board STRS meeting.
That's the next board meeting.
We're inviting all order members, come down. If you haven't ever seen one, weather's gonna be good, free parking, pull in. You just walk in, you gotta sign your name, better have an ID. Sign your name, tell them you wanna watch the board do its work. And we encourage you to carpool, get together. You get a great lunch. Guaranteed, nobody in this room can eat $5 worth of food because it's subsidized. So they have a cafeteria. So if you try to eat $5 worth of food, you're going to have a bellyache. If you go, and you'll enjoy yourself. You could sign up and speak. It's like the local Board of Education meeting when the football coach is going to get fired. You know, everybody's going to want to say their 2 cents worth and get up. It's kind of fun. I go to all of them, of course, because you folks pay me to go there. So I would encourage you to go. If you can get a friend to jump in a car with you, it's a great way to kill a day. Starts at 8:30. Sign in.
8:30 at the STRS office on High Street?
Yes.
It's actually on Broad Street, 275 Broad Street.
Okay.
But if you type it into your Google map thing, it'll bring you in and it'll pull you right into the free parking. Beautiful parking. We got the best parking garage in downtown.
Yeah.
No doubt.
It's
paver bricks. Paver bricks, no concrete there.
Heated papers.
Yeah. Paver bricks, it's really just swell built. And we use a good 20% of it on any given day. There's a lot of empty space there. Yes.
I just got one question. I joined the retirement group when John Lazarus and Dennis Leon were poking around in the records and
They found a lot.
And I think that the issues that they were dealing with were different. I think
They are.
that was kind of wild spending by the board.
Yeah.
And so at what point did they not go far enough? Did they stop too soon?
Well, I think some of that. I think, once again, you go to the culture. If I'm STRS management and my culture is this place exists so I can draw a huge salary and have 500 employees that draw huge salaries, and I manage massive amounts of money, and I really don't care about the actives or the retirees, then that's the culture they have. They do not put us first. You're going to get one of these sooner or later. Top 5, protect our pensions.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best place for it is the trash can. I will tell you, I have been at every STRS meeting, at every ORSC meeting, at every meeting of the HPA. I have never seen anybody from here. Now, I'm going to go take that back because the very last ORSC meeting I went to, I saw Steve Buer. Steve was a student in high school when I started teaching at Delta. His mom was my guidance counselor for 30 years. He is one of their lawyers. This guy that operates this used to do what I do for PERS. And they made a change at the leadership. And he said, I'm going to destroy your organization. And he started this one. What Randy, I think, had to send a letter, because it happened before I got there, cease and desist. Because they were representing people saying, we work with ORDA, with the police and fire, with the troopers, with.
That's what that letter says.
Yeah.
And I was going to, respond to, we have a liaison with them?
No, never met him, never seen him, wouldn't recognize him if he walked in and sat down in here today.
I have a question.
Okay.
Does this involve OPERS
No.
as the public?
They have the same issues we have in terms of their investment strategies. And Mr. Seidel, they are trying to raise money right now to hire Mr. Seidel.
Do the same thing.
To do the same thing.
Oh.
And if you read his book, if you want one of these books, you just call us. Alyssa will put it in the mail, or Mia.
How do you tell me? I've already, I got it.
Well, it's free from us, and you can have it. It's a great read, and we ask that you help cover the cost. I think we asked you to send us $5, but we'll send it out. We won't make you wait till we get your check. But if you want one, we're happy to give it to you. And this, it's basically the entire, how the forensic audit thing works. And we are an exact picture of what should happen. He said, I wrote this 5 years ago, and it describes your audit 100%. So